Right, so is the employment market really bouncing back? We've got two guests with unique insight. David Semmens, he is a Standard Chartered Bank economist that's ranked the Bloomberg best for his predictions about the job market. Also with us, Jeanne Branthover, managing director for Boyden Global Executive Search. In 2008, Bloomberg Business Week named Jeanne Branthover one of the world's most influential headhunters. A good person to know if you're looking for a job. All right, David Semmens, so are people really looking for work? Because I want to talk about the participation rate. I was speaking with Daniel Alpert, Westwood Capital, earlier on the program, and he said if you take a look at the participation rate, the number of people actively looking for work, what? We have to think of 1984 all over again? We got to go back to George Orwell?
Right, we're back to 1984, and that's really what's keeping the unemployment rate down, in inverted commas, sitting at 9.1. We should really be at 12.6. If we were at a constant participation rate over the last 15, 20-year average, we'd be up at 12.6, which is obviously incredibly concerning. It's people leaving the job market and just losing hope. People are just giving up. And it's not a comment on whether they're trying or not. It's people just stopping, and that brings the unemployment rate down just from the way it's calculated. And unfortunately, it does mean that these numbers, which are better, the hiring numbers or non-farm numbers are better, but the unemployment rate fell due to people leaving and losing hope, which obviously creates a two-tier system where people who are in the labour force are doing well. The wages grew at the strongest they've done for over 2 years now, but the people who aren't working are seeing longer and longer time unemployed, and they're going to be increasingly losing hope.
I'm going to let you do duration in just a moment. I'm also going to let you pick up your paper. I want to get Jeanne Branthover, your thoughts on this idea that people who already have a job, they're the ones who are going to be able to get new jobs. Right. Is that what you're finding?
Absolutely. We were saying before, the war for talent is for the people employed, unfortunately. And so companies know they want the best person that's employed that's making a difference in a competitor, and they want them, and that's why they steal them.
So it's not only for what they're going to do for the company, but it would almost like the damage that it would do by taking them away from someone that they're competing.
If they take the most talented person from a competitor, well, number one, they're going to get market share because they're bringing the person, but they're also going to hurt the competition. So it's very much
strategic as well.
It's very strategic, and it's realistic. If you want the best, the chances are that person is working because someone else is paying them a lot to do what they need to do to generate revenue, so that your company wants them, and that's why they hire us, so that we can go out and find that employed person who is extraordinary at what they do. Now,
who's going to make the difference? But as you say, it's the strategy. It's beating the competition because you take away that revenue-producing individual, and then you add them to your own workforce.
Absolutely.
David Semmens, you're one of those people. You're one of those people that everyone looks to. You know, you got to offer the competitive edge. What about duration right now? The amount of time that people are spending looking for work.
We have to look at the median and the average. When you take the average, an ordinary boring average, it's sitting around 44. But when you take the actual median, which is the middle number,
44 weeks.
44 weeks. When you take the median, which is the middle number, that's more around 21. And what this is really showing us is that people who are getting past that median point are just staying unemployed. So the people who get unemployed at the moment and come out, they're coming out quickly. And so you're not seeing the same sort of
You got to get the job. You got to get the job quickly.
If you're not in,
and if you don't,
you're
then
in and
you're
out
in big
quick,
trouble.
or you're just in, and that's it. You're just stuck, unfortunately.
From many of your work, have you seen that maybe that's because of the change in jobless benefits? Because we know they've been extended in some cases to 99 weeks. Does that have any effect?
I think, unfortunately, it does create adverse incentives, and that people are going to be less inclined to take the first job that comes along. Whereas really it should be about unemployment benefits mean that you are not destitute.
But you're saying take that first job, because if you don't, you could really end up with almost double the amount of time looking for work.
And you're going to become, you're sitting idle and you're weighing on the government, and people shouldn't be doing that. You should be looking to work and be productive, and then while you're working, and then move around. Because if you're just sitting there doing nothing...
Get on the job ladder and then get the job you really want, but just get into the employed workforce.
Right. It's far more attractive to hire someone who is already hired than to hire someone who's unfortunately been out of work.
Talking about that, Jeanne Branthover, executive MBAs as well as non-executive MBAs, people graduating from business school, are they getting offers?
Yes, they are. What we hear, and what talking to the schools themselves, we're finding that the MBAs are getting a lot of offers, and companies are being very aggressive because they want to build a pipeline, which they stopped doing for a couple of years. And it's so costly to get employees, to get the best employees. So if you go to the best schools and you find very smart students that you can train and they can learn your company culture and move up the ladder, much more cost efficient than going out and hiring people at senior levels.
All right, Jeanne Branthover, apply your expertise to the conundrum that David is describing, which is that if you don't take that first job, the chances are you're going to end up out of work for twice the average amount of time, from 20 weeks to 40 weeks. Should you take any job just to stay in the pool and to meet people?
You want to be positive. You want to be in the game. You want to be employed, because if you're unemployed and interviewing, you're a totally different person than the person who's employed. You're more confident when you're employed. You act like a different person. You aren't needy. You aren't scared. You aren't interviewing like a person who's depressed. So getting a job, any job, if you've been unemployed, of course it's different if you're employed, but if you've been unemployed, it's critical to get something on your resume, and it's critical to show an employer
something to be able to talk about as well.
Exactly, and that you're busy. You know, when you wake up in the morning, you have nothing to do. It's, you know, there's only so many closets you can clean. Exactly, and it's really difficult. It's difficult what I see, because we've talked to a lot of people, obviously, that are unemployed for a long time, and at first they're, you know, I'm going to get a job, I'm excited. Then you see their energy waning, you see their positiveness turn into true negativism, and it's, nobody wants to be around a negative person, and no one wants to hire someone that's going to be a bummer.
Well, and they're competing against a lot of other people that already have a job of some kind.
And don't forget, when you're being interviewed, at the end of the interview, the person interviewing thinks, do I want to hang out with this person? Do I want this person in my office all day, every day? The answer is, if you're not positive, no, I don't want you next to me.
I see David Semmens, you know, you're nodding your head here. Average hours worked. What does that tell us about the disposition of the job market here?
I mean, the most important thing here is that every 0.1 of the average hours worked is worth 400,000 jobs. So when this ticks up, it didn't tick up this month, unfortunately, but when this ticks up and you have an okay non-farm sales number, overall income is still rising. And that's really encouraging, because it means the people who are working are earning more, and eventually that's going to feed into broader wage pressure, and it will eventually.
But doesn't that also accentuate the gap?
It does accentuate the gap, but once you can only take that point so high.
Then you've got to go and hire somebody.
At the moment, people are getting squeezed. There's only so much juice you can squeeze out of the orange, and once you reach that point, then you are going to have to go out and hire. And we've been waiting for this to almost ignite and people to go out and start hiring aggressively, really for the last 2 years. We've been seeing this edging up, and it's really reaching the breaking point. It's back up nearly where it was in the good days. So
all right, let me put you on the spot. Martin Feldstein, speaking with Tom Keene earlier this week, says there's a 50% chance we get another recession.
I'd have to say it's lower than that. I'm more of an optimist. You know how optimistic I can be sometimes. And I'd have to say it's probably nearer 25%. But you know, I would say, if anything, it's lower than that. And I feel that we're going to be bouncing along the bottom rather than going into another recession. People are feeling very downbeat, but it's also the potential is for them to come back. We've seen that the first quarter was far worse than we'd felt. If it was the second quarter that had been that weak.
Right, they got the second quarter print, what, 1.3% economic growth?
Exactly. And so, you know, it shows we can be gathering pace even when things aren't looking as good. The economic data in the first quarter looked very good. That's why everyone was so surprised by the downward revision. That's why markets have come off so much, because everyone was really taken aback by that. And so we need to make sure that consumer sentiment and business sentiment improve. Consumer sentiment and business sentiment in July have been horrendous. It's been really, really ugly, and you have to think that it can only go up because consumer sentiment is as bad as it's been since March 2009, when payroll losses were at their peak. So if people feel that miserable now, you like to think they can only feel better.
And that's David being optimistic, can't you tell?
Yeah,
indeed.
Really.
All right, I want to thank you both very much. Always a pleasure. David Semmens joining us from Standard Chartered Bank. Jeanne Branthover, Boyden Global Executive Search. Thanks for your insights and your time.